Yo, it's Financial Freedom Fridays, and we're talking about why you need a side hustle in 2020, man. It's just one of those deals where if you are trying to prosper, if you're trying to get ahead, I know we've got COVID, and you're thinking, yeah, Cortez, you might be right, but let me tell you something, people. You needed a side hustle way before COVID, right? So do me a favor, as you guys are coming into the room, go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Also drop the name of your business and or your brand. Don't be shy, people. There's 100,000 folks following this page, and you never know who might want to connect with you. Just don't post any links. But I love to give you your free business shout outs. Go ahead and share this page as well. A lot of people out here are looking for answers. I did a poll on my page just the other day and asked how what is the number one financial challenge that you have, and a lot of people came back with, man, I need to make a little bit more money, right? So we're going to talk about the power of establishing the side hustle. We're going to talk about several different side hustles that you could start, and I'm going to give you some game plans and some blueprints that could help you. My specialty is helping you identify a gift, talent, or special ability that you can turn into a side hustle. But I also want to bring some statistical analysis to the show and share with you, especially for my brothers out there. This is critical for you, man. You make 87 cents on a dollar for every dollar that our white counterparts make. So how do we fill that gap? How do we close that gap, man, so that we can compete economically? In my opinion, in my very humble opinion, it is through entrepreneurship. So let me run my disclaimer and we're going to officially start the show.
The Cortez Hustle Show is a copyrighted production of Hustl Media Group. Any unauthorized use of the video, audio, captions, depictions of this show without express written consent of Hustl Media Group is strictly prohibited. Hustl Media Group, a better way to market.
And now back to the Cortez Hustle Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you live and direct from Monetize My Life. The 4 incredibly simple ways to profit from your passion with little to no startup costs. If you want to get a copy of this book, go over to monetizemylifenow.com. If you want to get a copy of my bundle, I'll put that link into the comments so you can go right to that page where you get the book as well as the How to Become an Influencer bundle. It's going to take you through starting a business based on a gift, talent, or special ability that you have, but also it's going to help you learn how to leverage social media and the way to become an influencer in your space and attract the right people to you so you can build your tribe and serve them. So that's Monetize My Life Influencer Bundle. All right, bang. So Anthony Munoz, my friend, welcome to the stream. Katrina Barnett, Corpus Cove, Texas, Key Creations, Accessories, Handmade Jewelry. Love that brand. Do me a favor, go ahead and smash that share button. But we're going to dive right in, man. One of the things that I want to help people just really understand is that the key that entrepreneurship is to building generational wealth, especially if you are here in America. I just so happen to believe with all my heart that the shortest distance between blue collar, hardworking American and generational legacies is entrepreneurship, right? Let's talk about the 3 reasons I think entrepreneurship everybody has got to take it seriously. Number 1, if we're talking about building generational legacies and we know entrepreneurship is the key, then we got to start showing our children entrepreneurship at a young age. That's number 1. See, if building generational wealth and generational legacies, the key, the glue that holds that thing together is entrepreneurship, we can no longer afford to have our school system warp their mind to think employment only, because it's hard to undo that, y'all. I work with lots of people, and all of these people are telling me the same thing. Cortez, I need to make some extra money. Cortez, I'm not where I want to be financially. But then when you try to introduce entrepreneurship to these people, it's like, nah, I just think I need to make get a raise on my job. No, I just think I need to get a second job. Why? Because our school system is very, very, very good at what it does. What does it do? It creates employees by the mandate of the government and big business, which are the two institutions that the school system gets its funding from, right? We've got to be clear on that. So number one reason I think entrepreneurship is got to be in part of everybody's wealth building portfolio is because we've got to start showing our babies what entrepreneurship is at an early age. So they grow up understanding business principles and concepts. They understand the free enterprise system. They understand capitalism with business ownership. You start to understand credit, taxes, and those things, which we'll get into later in the show, right? How many of you guys had a parent that said, you don't want to work for somebody else, you want to work for yourself, right? Anybody else other than me have a parent raise you up telling you that, man, you should work for yourself, or you want to work for yourself, you want to own your own business, right? I had my mom tell me that, right? But guess what? My mom didn't own a business. So instead of doing what she told me, I did what she did. But it's a far different scenario when you're telling your children you have to own a business, and on weekends they're helping you in the family business. So that's number one. Number two, I think we've lost a sense of pride and fulfillment, right? Miche says most people don't even know entrepreneurship is an option or a possibility. You are so right. You're so right. I got to give a shout out to my girl Ariel Bivens Biggs over at Young Biz Kids. She's the founder of a youth organization, and she was and I'm fortunate enough to sit on the board over there and help some of those young people understand entrepreneurship. And that's all it is. It's an introduction to another way of thinking, right? The number two reason I think everybody needs entrepreneurship in their lives is because we're missing the sense of fulfillment that comes through ownership. We miss the sense of pride and purpose and fulfillment that comes through ownership. In fact, we are getting the exact opposite in heavy dosages, right? Because when you go to work, and I think 60-something% of people who go to a job admit through polls that they don't like their job, right? So when you go to a job that you don't like and is not fulfilling, do you know what happens on the inside of a person? On the inside of a person, they feel like they are selling out, because that's absolutely what they're doing. They're selling out their dreams and their goals to put food on the table temporarily. And that really causes a person to die on the inside a little bit every day. Ask me how I know. Because I was doing that. Right now, I know that my God-given duty is to be a provider and protector of my family. I know that having a regular source of income is one of the ways that I can fulfill that duty, right? But God also said my gifts are supposed to make room for me. He gave me gift, talents, and special abilities. He allowed me to see things, experience things that I could turn into a business so that that becomes my sustenance, so that I'm not dying on the inside going to a job that I don't like. Now, please believe this is not a job bashing deal. I don't bash anybody with a job. I think you should have a job. I just think if you only have a job, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you do not try to build something, right, there's a sense of pride and fulfillment that comes in owning your own thing, right? And I think that's missing from a lot of people. I think we'll walk with our head held higher if we had a little something that we were building of our own that we knew we could pass down to our children. So that's the second reason I think entrepreneurship and you acquiring or adding a side hustle to your deal makes sense. The third reason, which we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, is taxes, right? You guys know that in tax year 2018, Amazon did over $11 billion and paid zero federal taxes. What about a company like Netflix? Did over 800 million in revenue, paid zero federal taxes. Pull out your check stub. Today is Friday. A lot of people got paid today. Pull out your check stub. We're almost at the end of the year. Look at your year-to-date taxes and tell me how much you paid in taxes. I mean, don't tell me, but tell yourself how much you paid in taxes. And then do a comparative analysis in terms of the percentage of your income that you pay in the taxes. A lot of people are going to be surprised to see that they are paying 30% in taxes, 40% in taxes, right? That's why it's hard for most of us to build wealth, is because taxes is taking a large percentage of our income. Here's what happens when you make your money with labor, right? There's three primary ways that you can earn a living in this country. You can make your money with labor on a job for somebody else. You can make your money through business, entrepreneurial endeavors, 1099, or you can make your money with money, i.e. investing, right? So if you choose to only make your money with labor, here's what you're telling the system. You're saying, I'm going to go to work first. I'm going to then pay taxes second, because every hour that you work, your job automatically takes taxes out of your paycheck before you even get it. And then after I pay taxes, I'm going to try to fulfill my lifestyle. I'm going to try to live off whatever is left, right? And then if it so happened that I overpaid taxes, then Uncle Sam is going to give me some of that back. That's if you work a job only. And this is, again, this is not job bashing. I just want to be clear about something, right? That's the philosophy of the person who works a job only. Now, the best way to transition into entrepreneurship, I believe, is to add a business while you're gainfully employed, right? I just believe that's the best way to do it. I actually have a business opportunity that you could partner with me on if you're open to that. In fact, I'm offering a scholarship for 5 people who want to partner with me and own their own financial education franchise, right? But the best way to transition, or even the best position in this economy, especially during COVID and quarantine, right? These uncertain times, is to add a business while you're gainfully employed. Why is that so important? Because now the philosophy shifts. It says this: I go to work first, and that's work on your job and work in your business. I get to spend my money second, and then I pay taxes on what's left. Ooh, some of y'all didn't get that. Some of y'all didn't get that. That's a very subtle difference, right? But I want us to start paying attention to the little things that compound over time and make the biggest difference, right? The person who, I use basketball analogies because that's my favorite sport. I used to coach youth basketball. The kid who stays after practice and shoots 10 extra shots, it literally, the way kids bound all over the wall with the energy that they have, it literally takes them less than a minute, less than 90 seconds, I would say, to shoot 10 extra shots. right? Because they're going to shoot, they're going to run and get their rebound, they're going to shoot, they're going to run and get their rebound. So in 90 seconds, they'll shoot 10 extra shots while everybody else is rushing to put their shoes on, trying to get out of the door. That kid shoots 10 extra shots. That's not a whole heck of a lot of extra, right? But as that compounds over time, if that becomes a habit for the kid, right? And they're practicing 5 days a week, and they have 2 practice sessions a day, meaning they're going to practice with their coach, and then they're going to go on the streets and they're going to play some street ball and practice. And every time the session ends, they shoot 10 extra shots. That's not a whole heck of a lot, guys. That's 20 extra shots per day. 5 days out of the week, that's 100 extra shots. That compounds over 10 weeks. That's 1,000 more shots they've taken than the average person. They do that over a lifetime, guys. That's the difference between average and good, the difference between good and great, the difference between great and excellent. So that little thing, that little subtle shift in mindset that says, if you work a job only, you're going to work first, pay taxes second, then you're going to try to spend or live on what's left. Because I added a business to my gainful employment, now I get to work first, spend second, then pay taxes on what's left. It's the reason that your company is probably going to throw, even with coronavirus going on, even with quarantine, even with slow business and all those things, your company is probably still going to offer bonuses at the end of the year. Your company is still going to offer some sort of Christmas a party or a holiday deal at the end of the year. Why? Because if they don't, they're going to have to give that money to Uncle Sam. What makes more sense? Me giving you a bonus that's likely going to encourage you to work harder all of next year, or me giving the money to Uncle Sam? What makes more sense? Me hosting a big holiday shindig, especially because of all the things that have gone on with COVID. What makes more sense? Me giving that money up to Uncle Sam, or me spending $40,000 on a Christmas something, renting out a ballroom and just bringing all the employees together, boosting morale, loving on them, giving some awards, some certificates, some vacations, and that kind of stuff. And then you're going to work harder for me all of next year because of I did that. Or do I give that $40,000 to Uncle Sam? See, we got to understand how the game is played, man. Add a business to your gainful employment. A lot of times people will say, well, Cortez, I literally don't have time to work a business. And I'm going to call bull on that. I'm going to call BS on that. Why? Because I was that guy who worked a full-time job. I coached 2 different youth basketball teams, and I helped coach a 3rd team. Married man, 5 sons, and 2 of the sons played basketball. One of the sons wrestled. The other one is a musician. So I'm all over the place with all, and I still took the time to make the business. And I want you to be very clear. I use the word took the time, the phrase took the time, because that's exactly what I did. I had all of that going on. So where did I take the time from then? I took the time from sleeping. I got up a little bit earlier and I worked on my business while the family was still sleeping. I stayed up a little bit later. I worked on my business while the family was asleep. We had road trips where I have to take my sons to tournaments. My son, if you know anything about wrestling, man, I live in the metro area, right? But those doggone wrestling tournaments they be all over the place. My son's in the back of the car knocked out. Sometimes it's just him and I. Sometimes it's him and the whole family. Everybody's in them because we got to be at the tournament location at like 6 in the morning so he can weigh in. So a lot of times we got to drive 45 minutes, an hour and a half. So we got to be on the road at 4. Everybody else in the car knocked out. What am I doing? I'm listening to a podcast. I'm listening to a training. If my wife is driving, I'm reading something to help. I take the time away from other stuff that's not serving me and reinvest that time into building a business. So if you work 9 to 5, what does that mean? Shoot, that means you can get up at 6 and you still got 3 hours before you got to be at work. You can put in an hour into your business. Then you get off at 5. From 5 to 9, you're going to work with the kids, the family, dinner, homework. I get it. I know how it is running them to practice here and extracurricular activity here, right? But what are you doing from 9 to midnight, from 9 to 2, right? We have something called the internet. It's a 24-hour deal. It's a 24-hour deal. So while you might be setting up some things, like for me, I use social media a lot in my business. So, back in the day, my early morning work was me record a video and then me set that video up in a way that it's going to be scheduled to show up on my social media platforms throughout the day. Right. And then on my lunch, I might record another video and then I push that video out. Right. And then on my break, I'm engaging with the people who engage with the video and I'm talking to them about my program. I'm making phone calls. Guys, you not having time is not an excuse, but instead it's the reason. Especially if you're a man. Why? Because a man is, if according to scripture, right? I read the Bible. I believe in the Bible. I believe that a man is called to be the provider and the protector, right? But if you ain't never with your family because you always working, how much protecting are you doing? You providing like a mug, but are you protected? Right? So you got to leverage entrepreneurship to put you in the position to where your money can actually make money for you. Right? Now, I want to spend a few minutes and I want to talk to my brothers because this right here, man, this right here is also not an excuse. Now, is it fair? No, it's not fair. It is not something that we should be fighting for? Absolutely. But I want you to see these comparisons and these numbers, right? So on the other side of this break, guys, I'm going to do a quick station identification. We're going to talk real quick about the difference in income between white men, black men, Hispanics, and Asians, right? And sisters, don't beat me up, but I'm probably gonna have to do another show on the wage gap between white women and black women, especially black women and white men is really ridiculous. But I'm gonna show you how you can take control over closing this gap on the other side of this break. So keep it locked right here. Hey, real quick, I just wanted to remind you to go ahead and smash that share button, whether you're watching us on Facebook, like the page, follow the page, put us on See First. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and make sure you turn on that bell notification as well. And coming up on Monday's episode, we're going to be talking about the 2 reasons people perish. So you want to make sure that you stay connected to the show.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. We're talking about why you need a side hustle in 2020. And I want to share with you an article that I was just checking out on the wage gap, right? But before I do that, let me just acknowledge some of my commenters. I appreciate you guys engaging with the stream. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Israel Alatosa, cash flow expander and generational autonomist and handyman. Appreciate that. Janelle Smith out of Lafayette, Louisiana, Integrity Wealth Solutions, Big Blacks Q. Also, can't wait to get my hands on some of that tasty barbecue and marinade, my friend. Miche says, right, most people don't even know entrepreneurship is an option. I agree with that, Miche. We've got to do a better job. Let's see. Janelle says, you work for the government 4 months out of the year. Yeah, if they take a third of your income, they're taking a third of your time. So please believe that. Miche says, hey, that 5 a.m. wake up gets you another 20 to 40 hours per month. Right? That is huge, ladies and gentlemen. So let me show you guys this article on the race gap. We're not going to go through the whole article, but I just want you guys to see they've got a nice chart right here that kind of breaks down the difference. And I want you to see something. And I know people hate this particular comparison, man, but you got to really pay attention, right? You gotta really focus on these numbers real quick. So let's see. Black men earn less on the dollar than male workers of other races, right? It says on average, Black men in the U.S. earn 87 cents for every dollar earned by a white man, based on data from a sample of 1.8 million employees surveyed between January 2017 and February 2019. Right? Now, watch this, guys. Watch this. It says Black men earn 87 cents on every dollar. Native American men earn 91% on every dollar. Hispanic men earn 91 cents on every dollar. Pacific Islander men earn 95% on every dollar. White men earn 100 cent on every dollar, right? But Asian men earn $1.15 on every dollar. What is the major difference between the Asian men and most of the other men, right? And even when you look at our Hispanic brothers and sisters, right? The major difference is entrepreneurship is a foundational component in their culture, right? Entrepreneurship in the Hispanic community and in the Asian community, right? Entrepreneurship is foundation, because we all know that that Hispanics, they will take any and every job, right? Because they understand that group economics, right? They understand long-term generational perspectives of building, right? But here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. When I look at those numbers, and I know that entrepreneurship and business ownership is a huge part of the Asian culture. But guys, it's also a huge part of our culture. Wait a minute, Cortez. Well, how come we're not earning $1.15 to every dollar earned by other cultures? It's also, I want y'all to get this. Entrepreneurship is a huge cultural foundation of Asians and Hispanics, but it is also a huge cultural component for Black people. The reason we're not at that level is because we don't treat our entrepreneurial endeavors like business. We typically treat them like a side hustle. Come on, I want you to get this, because this is the huge difference, right? We do not treat our entrepreneurial endeavors like business, right? I see my business coach, Henry Doris, is on. right? He will say we're not becoming professional entrepreneurs. He will say we're not playing business to win, right? We treat our entrepreneurial endeavors like a side hustle, right? Janelle says because our people want a discount or they do business elsewhere, right? That's also part of it, right? We have that's the flip side of my next point, Janelle. We have a get over mentality, a lot of us, right? So not only as a consumer are we trying to get over on our brothers and sisters who have businesses and we're trying to do business and we want a discount, we also have this get over mentality, rightfully so, though. I'm not gonna lie, we have this get over mentality that says, man, the government has stuck it to us since we've been here. So if I can get over, make a few dollars without paying any taxes, then by golly, pay me cash so I don't have to report that, right? But here's the flip side. Here's the flip side. Let's say I'm gonna bring out my calculator, man, because last time I did my mental math, I made a mistake, and I swear, boy, people will not they will miss the whole point because they're waiting on you to make a mistake, right? they miss the whole point because they're waiting on you to make a mistake. So let me get my calculator out, and let me just help you to understand how the tax system works in this country, right? So let's just say you are a handyman. I heard Israel said that I'm a handyman, right? Say Israel is a handyman, and over the course of 12 months, right, Israel works a regular job, but he's also a handyman on the side, right? Now, he's doing his handyman work, and over the course of the year, he does a $500 job here. He does a $50 job there. Let's just say he brings in $5,000 over the course of a year, right? $5,000. Now, he makes $50,000 on his job, right? So he's got this side hustle. He's saying, Cortez, I made $5,000. I don't have to pay taxes on that money, right? And let's just say if he's in the 12% tax bracket, then 12% of, 25% of 5,000 is 1,250, right? So he's, in his mind, he just saved $12,050 because he did not report the $5,000 that he made from his side hustle to the government from a tax standpoint. But how many of you guys know that it takes money to make money? How many of you guys know that, first of all, that $5,000 ain't $5,000 from a side hustle because it cost him to make that money? You think Israel had to buy some tools? You think Israel might have had to drive back and forth to the store for his clients to get different things, right? Those are miles. You think while Israel was on those jobs, he got hungry and had to buy himself something to eat with some of that money that he made? Absolutely. See, when we don't legitimize in business, we're actually setting ourselves up for failure, right? So while it looks good that on the surface, Cortez, I made $5,000 cash that I didn't have to pay taxes on or report. And if I did report, I would have paid $1,250 out of the $5,000, right? But remember, Israel has a business that he's legitimately running from his home. The only thing he isn't doing is legitimately reporting it, right? Now watch this. He made $50,000 on his job, $5,000 from his side hustle. He got 2 boys that he takes with him on these side hustles, and he's helping, he's teaching them the craft of being a handyman. So they're working alongside of him as he's doing these handyman jobs, right? So that alone says, because I got my 14-year-old and my 16-year-old helping me on these jobs, I'm going to pay them $1,000 per month. to help me on these side projects. That's $12,000 per kid. It's $24,000 that he paid his kid. Well, Cortez, he only made $5,000 in business. Where does the actual $1,000 a month come from that he's paying his kids? This is where you got to understand the game, my friend. He's already paying his kids about $1,000 a month to feed, clothe, shelter, and entertain them. But like our Asian counterparts, he understands business. How many of you guys have ever gone into an Asian restaurant, an Asian beauty supply store, and you see their children behind the counter? The older of the children is also often working the register, or they're sweeping up and that kind of stuff. But the other kids are behind the counter. We don't even know what we're seeing because we have the get over mentality. See, what we're seeing is those children are also on the payroll. Those children are also on the payroll, and it allows the parents to deduct the amount of salary that they pay their children. And it lowers the taxable liability for the business. We got to get out of the get over mentality, and we got to get a strategic mentality. It says, wait a minute, Cortez, you telling me that I got 3 kids, 10, 14, 16. I could have a business. I got a side hustle, but I'm like you were saying, I'm kind of just using this side hustle as a way to just make some extra money on the side. But you're telling me that if I do this right, not only do I make a few extra dollars, but I can also save taxes off the money I make on my job? That's exactly what I'm telling you. I'm not saying we should not be fighting for equality. I'm not saying we should not be talking to our local politicians on change and attacking and approaching the wage gap issue so that it's no longer a systematic issue that permeates throughout the country. What I am saying is, while we're doing that, we should be getting our money up, right? So now Israel makes the $50,000 on his job, made an extra $5,500 for a side hustle. So that's a total of $5,500, right? Let me show y'all guys how. I don't have that little book over here. Let me show you guys how a company like Amazon can do billions and pay 0 federal tax. And I'm talking about beyond just, I know that they get tax write-offs when they go into a place, man. This is another thing, right? When Amazon decides on putting their next distribution center into a place, right? They know what they're bringing to the table. This goes back to my point of us having a get over mentality, right? They know what they bring to the table. So they might put 4 or 5 states against each other and say, hey, we're going to bring a distribution center there. That's going to allow us to hire 7,000 people from your community. But in hiring that 7,000 people in your community, it's actually going to create 100,000 jobs. Why? Because those 7,000 people are going to need houses to live in. Those 7,000 people are going to need grocery stores to shop in. Those 7,000 people are going to need mechanics and all these other things that come from, right? We're going to need vendors. We're going to need drivers. So our trucks are going to need mechanics, right? So those 7,000 jobs are actually going to create 100,000 jobs. Now, what kind of tax incentives are you guys are going to allow to us if we build our distribution center here? So you got to know how the game is played, man. You think you bringing something to the table as an employee. You ain't bringing nothing to the table, man. When you got to that job, the building was already there. When you got to that job, the computer, the desk, the laptop was already there. When you got to that job, the customers were already calling in. They just needed you to answer the phone. That's why they get the tax breaks and you do not. So Israel made $5,500. I'm sorry, $55,000 total income, right? 55,000 total income. Now, because Israel is an American, the first $12,400 he makes on it makes in income is tax-free. It's called the standard deduction if he's single, right? We're going to say Israel is single. So that standard deduction, the first thing we got to do is subtract $12,400 from his income. Now, that brings it down to $42,600. The average person in America who does not understand what I'm sharing with you today will ultimately end up paying 25 to 33% of $42,600, right? Because that's usually the only tax break that a working person gets is the standard deduction. Now, I get it that if you have a home and you got mortgage interest rates, you're going to be able to deduct that. If you pay student loans and you're paying interest on those student loans, the interest on those student loans are a tax deduction. I get that. That's going to bring your taxes down a little bit more. But you know what brings your taxes down the most? When we subtract the $24,000 that he paid his two kids to help him in the side hustle. So let's subtract minus 24,000. Now his taxable income is 18,600. But wait a minute, we're not done there. Israel also had to drive to these places that he did the work for. When he got to these places, often he realized that, man, I forgot a tool, so I got to go back home. He got to these places and he realized that the client didn't have everything that they need. Oh, they need another coat of primer. They didn't know they needed primer for me to do this paint job. So I'm going to run to the store for them and get the primer. So he put on his car about 10,000 miles for business, doing this running back and forth. And Israel knows, because he follows a show like this, to track his mileage, right? He's part of our business community, so he gets a TaxBot app that's going to let him enter his miles and track all of that stuff for him. So 10,000 miles at 54 cents a mile, that's another $5,400 in tax write-off. So let's subtract that, 5,400. Now he's down to 13,200, right? This is his taxable income now. But wait a minute, man. Those days that he had his boys with them and they were doing the work, because they were working away from home, they got hungry. Is it ordinary and necessary for a handyman crew to have lunch near the job site so that they can continue the job? See, the IRS determines whether your tax write-offs are, if they are ordinary and necessary, that's how they qualify whether you can write something off or not. Is it ordinary for, if I'm doing a job 30 minutes away from my home, is it ordinary for me to just run up the street, grab a burger, eat, and then go back to the job site and finish? That's ordinary, right? Is it necessary for me to eat? Right? Is it necessary? Absolutely. So a few of those occasions while they were out on those job sites, Israel and his two boys had to eat. So over the course of a year, let's just say they spent $1,000 doing that. Now let's say they spent $2,000 doing that, right? You don't get to write off the whole meal. You get 50%. So 50% of 2,000 is 1,000. So let's subtract another 1,000. Now they had 12,200, right? 12,200 is their taxable income, right? But let's remember, Israel is a handyman. And during the course of the year, some of his tools wore out, right? And they needed to be replaced. So let's just say Israel had to spend $1,500 over the course of the year to replace some of his tools, right? So let's subtract that 1,500. Now he's at 10,700 that he's going to pay taxes on, right? But guess what? Israel, in order to get the jobs that led to the 5,000, Israel does some marketing. He has some magnets. He has some signage. He has some things that gets him customers, right? He hires a marketing service like Thornton Online Marketing. All right, that was a shameless plug. But nevertheless, right, he spent another $1,500 on marketing for the year. So let's subtract that, right? Because remember, is it common and necessary for a business to market? Absolutely. So now he's at $9,200 in taxable income, right? But watch this. Israel, because he is serious about his craft, he went to 2 handyman trade shows, one in California and one in Florida. And he took the boys. Why? Because he's serious about the craft. He wants them to see the latest and the greatest technology, tools, education. They took some workshops on how to become better handymen. And guess what? It cost him $5,000 per trip for him to take himself, his 2 boys, to 2 handyman trade shows. Never mind the fact that he's got family in California and he's got family in Florida. That ain't why they went to Florida and California to hang out with family. Who does that? They went to Florida and California to attend trade shows so they could get better at their craft. And he spent $5,000 per trip. Never mind that they hung out at Disney on one of the days after the trade show. Never mind that. That ain't why they went. They went to participate in a handyman trade show. So now we subtract $10,000 for business travel, right? Hotel, rental cars, the food that they ate while they were there. Oh, what just happened? All of a sudden, we went from, what did we say? We was going to pay $42,000, pay taxes on $42,000. But because we legitimize our business, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, now Uncle Sam owes us $800. Now Uncle Sam owes us $800. I don't know if y'all understand that, right? So 42,700. Let's just show you the savings there. 42,700, I believe, is what we said, or something like that, right? So I just want y'all to see how this works and why it's worth it, even if the business isn't making a huge amount of revenue on the front end, right? The tax write-offs, the sense of fulfillment, the pride and ownership, showing our children something different. Y'all gonna tell me that's not worth it? Come on now. All right. So let me clear this out. I think y'all got the point on how you can literally legally pay 0 taxes through entrepreneurship, right? As long as you work your business on a regular and consistent basis, you work your business in an attempt to make a profit. You don't have to make one, but you just got to be trying really hard to make a profit. You keep good records. And if the things that you are deducting are common and ordinary for your business model, then you have no problem with Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam don't have no problem with you. So let's just say 42,700. Let's just say my man Israel is in the 25% tax bracket. If he did not have a business, y'all, my man Israel would have paid $10,000 in taxes on his job income when you add in the 5,500 that the 5,000 he made on business. So $55,000, he'd have ultimately paid somewhere around $10,675 in taxes. But with a full understanding of the economy that we are in, free enterprise, capitalistic democracy, are you kidding me? Why on earth would he pay $10,675 in taxes when he doesn't have to? So that money didn't leave his household. In fact, he got a $800 refund, right? And then watch this, because a lot of people say, well, Cortez, I can't see myself paying my kids $1,000 a month. You already doing it. You're already paying to feed, clothe, shelter, entertain, and take care of the health of those children already. And it's probably costing you $1,000 a month. How much do you spend in groceries every month? How much does it cost for them to do Little League, whatever, every month? How much does it cost you to put clothes on their back, shoes on their feet? How much does it cost for school supplies? How much does it cost if your kid is in private school? See, as a custodial parent, I pay the $1,000 to them, but who has the debit card to their bank accounts when they deposit the checks that I give them from my business? I do. So I pay them the $1,000, and then guess whose debit card I use when it's time to go grocery shopping? Right. So Janelle says, well, you would have already paid those taxes on your job. You would get the $10,000 back. Not us, Janelle. We would have adjusted the W-4 and reflected that we're a business owner, so they stopped taking that money out of our check. But to your point, the average person, yes, that money comes out of their check, so they will get the $10,000 back in the refund plus the $800 that we end up, because of all of the tax write-offs. So yeah, I get your point. But yeah, you really should stop them from taking taxes out of your check in the first place if you have a business. All right, so let me read a couple more comments, man, and we're going to wrap this thing up. A says, I create 7,000 job tons in tax revenue. I would expect a tax break as an owner. Absolutely. That's business. That's how you do business. I enjoy the way you teach, brother. Easy to understand. I hope so, man. When I start getting into those numbers, I get a little nervous, right? I get a little nervous. If I lease a car through my business and wrap it, what's the most I could write off in best case? Now, I have to give you my disclaimer. I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm not a CPA or tax preparer, enroll agent, accountant, right? However, it's my understanding that you will be able to write off the full amount of the lease. And because it is wrapped, then every mile that you drive, because everywhere you go, you're advertising, every mile that you put on that car is now a tax write-off. Now, you might want to check that with your tax preparer. I'm not exactly sure, but it seems to me if I have my vehicle wrapped, everywhere I go, I'm marketing, I'm advertising. So it seems to me that the full price of the lease, if it's done through the business, as well as all the miles that you put on the vehicle, should be a tax write-off. But again, check with your local licensed professional for clarity on that. Too many benefits to not be a business owner, big or small. Man, you telling me. So these parents may think it's a unneeded expense because they don't know the long-term benefits. You're absolutely right, and that's pretty much the case. parents just don't understand. And because they don't understand, and let's be clear, because they're lazy, right? Because and I'm not saying they as I'm pointing the finger at any, we as human beings are naturally lazy. We seek comfort and avoid pain at all costs. And for some people, even a $10,000 savings is not enough to do 15 minutes of bookkeeping a day. I'm gonna run that back so you get it, because people think this stuff is hard. And there's some levels of difficulty, the size of your business, the scope of what you do, and how much revenue you're bringing in and all that kind of stuff, whether you have employees and whatnot. But a lot of times people literally think because they don't want to, even at the savings of $10,000 in taxes, getting all your money up front, that's not worth 15 minutes of record keeping a day. That's what I do in my business, in my financial education franchise. And we are recruiting, by the way. I have 5 scholarships that will let you get rolling in our business for 50% off the initial start cost. So comment scholarship or inbox me if you want to get all the details on that. But that's what I do. I introduce this strategy to people for a living. And some of the excuses that people come up with, most people would rather get a second job than start a small home-based business. And really, it's not because they lack the intellect. It's not because they don't understand this stuff. You know what the real problem is? The problem is we're social creatures. And because we're social creatures, we care a whole lot about what other people think about us. And if I started a small home-based business, for most people, that's a negative ding to their current status, right? See, if my status is I make 6 figures a year, then I get a certain amount of respect and people treat me a certain way because of that status. But then if I start a home-based business, people ultimately think that starting a business and trying to make extra money, we, especially Black people, equate that with financial struggle. I can't be like Warren Buffett, a multi-billionaire, and go acquire another company because I want more. If I am in my community and I make good money on my job, I manage my money well, if I go and start a business, the perception is people are going to think I'm struggling financially. That's going to hurt my status. And if it hurts my status, that hurts my ego and my pride, man. My perfect money plan. Are there any courses or programs that on the site looking forward to investing with you? No, not on that site, man. That is just the presentation on how we do, how our payment system works. That is the business, right? But once you get into our business, then yes, we train you thoroughly on these strategies, on how to present this stuff to other people. Even if you want to do your own podcast and become an influencer on social media, we provide all the tools and the training on how to do all of that stuff, man. So that's the biggest challenge of people starting a side hustle. And it's funny because most people already have a side hustle, right? But when you tell them to go all the way with it, it's like, oh, nah, man, I don't got time for that. Nah, man, I'm good. I'm just going to keep doing it the way I'm doing it. But out the other side of their mouths, they'll talk about building generational wealth. They'll talk about how they want more. They'll talk about how they wish they could escape the rat race, right? So, man, I didn't realize it's beyond 8 o'clock already, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, if you want to partner with me, in a home-based business where I literally show you how to get paid for posting financial tips and strategies on social media. That's how I've built my whole business over the last 5 years. I post financial tips and strategies on social media, and I do a podcast like this where it's education based. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I want you to have the game, guys. Even if you don't start a business with me, it doesn't matter. Having a home-based business works. And guess what? I didn't even put in there that Israel is renting his place and 25% of his rent every month is a tax write-off. Come on, man. That's what this thing is all about. So not only must we look at entrepreneurship as a way to increase the pride and the sense of fulfillment, not only must we look at entrepreneurship as a way to model something different for our kids. This is not a knock on college. This is not a knock on traditional education. This is not a knock on anybody who works a job and feel that they're not the entrepreneur. They don't have the entrepreneurial bug. You don't have to have the entrepreneurial bug. You just need to understand how to execute the strategy of entrepreneurship. That's it. Matter of fact, we're all entrepreneurs, man. We were born entrepreneurs. How do I know? Because an entrepreneur is merely a problem solver. They just get paid for solving their problems. You've been a problem solver all your life. You came out the womb. You didn't know how to walk or talk. And you solved that problem, right? You've been a problem solver all your life. Entrepreneurs are just people who get paid to solve problems. So if you want to connect with me, let me know. All you got to do is comment scholarship or text keyword scholarship to 314-200-5705, 314-200-5705. There's only 5 and they're on the first come, first serve basis. So I can't promise you how long they're going to be around. So with that, I appreciate you guys for all tuning in, engaging, commenting, sharing the show, man. It means a lot to me. I'm starting to look at some of my numbers and video views. I think people are really starting to resonate with this information. People are really starting to understand that I am really truly here to help, man. I'm on a mission to empower working Americans economically through financial literacy with an emphasis on personal brand development and entrepreneurship, man. Over the next 12 months, I want to help 1,000 people start or grow a business, right? Email hcortez@thorntononlinemarketing.com. All right, I'm gonna plug that in there for you guys as well. All right, till I talk to you guys next time, I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up.